Gas prices in the news, and here we are at the midpoint of the year. We thought that we would dedicate this episode to looking at gas prices. What's going on with them? What might we anticipate? And how do consumers react to gas prices? Looking at NACS data that has yet to be released. So, no joining us today. It is just me, and we're going to go through two topics today. We're going to look at gas prices, where they are, what might move them in one direction or another, and also consumer price sensitivity. How do consumers think about gas prices? How does that affect retailers? Now, NACS Convenience Matters podcasts are really dedicated with the audience in mind of retailers, those within the industry. So, some of the things I'm talking about will be fairly basic to you, and that's okay. The idea of this podcast is that maybe there's a couple things, particularly in the NACS data, that will be of interest to retailers. But this also can be of interest to the general public to kind of break down some of the myths that are going on now related to pricing. And feel free to share this on social media, share it with anybody who's talking about gas prices that you might want to center and in what's going on and kind of correct any of the myths that are going out there around gas prices. So, with that in mind, I'll do my best. See how you might want to take advantage of some of the data that we're going to be talking about. Usually, with podcasts, we try not to be data centric because people are walking, driving, etc. It's not the best time to go through all kinds of math, but hey, I'm a math guy, so I'm going to throw some numbers at you. So let's just start off with gas prices right now. Uh, we're coming into the 4th of July weekend. We're coming into July 1st, and both of those have impacts or potential impacts in terms of gas prices. First off, 4th of July weekend. Once again, AAA predicts record traffic over 4th of July. And related to that, consumers often say, well, people are going to be raising their gas prices because of uh, 4th of July traffic, et cetera. No, that's not how it works. People adjust gas prices because wholesale prices increase or decrease. And that is based on because oil prices increase or decrease. So let's start at the beginning, oil prices. Over the past week, gas prices across the country have gone up about 8 cents a gallon, looking at the latest data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration, which tracks gas prices. The reason for that is an increase in crude oil prices. Now, if you want to look at tracking crude oil prices to gas prices, there are 42 gallons in a barrel of oil. That means that each gallon within that barrel, if there's a $1 change in a barrel of oil, that equates to 2.4 cents per gallon. So take 2.4 times it by 42, it's a dollar. So anyway, like I said, there's going to be some math in here. But the point is, when you look at oil prices, if oil goes up by a dollar, that is the equivalent of 2.4 cents per gallon. And if that $1 increase holds, that usually translates to wholesale and then it translates to retail, but there is a lag. So right now we're in a situation where oil prices are going up, people or had been going up because of world events and concern over world events. And both of those things move oil prices. So right now, prices are nationwide sitting at 321 based on the latest weekly government data. That is up about 7 cents from a week ago. And it's also up, or I'm sorry, it's down 23 cents from this time last year. Last year, gas prices were sitting at 344. So I'll throw out some of those numbers with gas prices, and gas prices are also political. So take for it what you will. Prices are down 23 cents compared to this time last year. So here we are. We had some world events, concern about world events in the Middle East and how they might affect oil prices. We have that right now that we're looking at. And we're also in hurricane season. And hurricane season also can affect uh, gas prices because hurricanes hit the US Gulf Coast. That is where most of the refining capacity is in the country. That can shut down refineries, that can shut down offshore oil rigs, that can affect movement of fuel throughout the country, depending upon where hurricanes hit. So that's another factor that's going to be going on in the second half of this year, July, August, September, hopefully not too much, but hurricane season certainly plays a role in where gas prices may be going. The third thing that is going on with gas prices is July 1st. There are some new changes in taxes and some other things associated with that. And there's one state in particular that is most affected by that. And yes, you guessed it, it's California. California, home to 1/8 of the US population, has a few things going on with taxes, and I'll break them down one by one. Now, first off, California has a lot of taxes on gas. There's some issues with refining capacity and environmental regulations, et cetera, that make California traditionally the most expensive fuel in the country. And sorry, Californians, it's going to get more expensive. Um, Now, first off, one final thing about gas prices. Convenience stores sell 80% of the gas in the country. And I represent convenience stores. So if I'm predicting price movements and I'm not, that's considered collusive behavior. So I'm not going to go in that direction, but these things are certain. California has a 1.6 cent per gallon tax that will take effect on July 1st. There's also something called the low carbon fuel standard that takes effect that day. And I mentioned political. Here's a moment of political in all of this. Depending upon who you listen to, this low carbon fuel standard will affect California gas prices by somewhere between 5 to 65 cents a gallon, which is an enormous range. And at the upper end, that 65 cent is the Senate majority leader, or I'm sorry, Senate minority leader said that this increase on the Republican side said that this increase will raise gas prices by up to 65 cents per gallon. Meanwhile, Governor Newsom on the Democratic side says that this will raise prices somewhere between 5 and 8 cents per gallon. So remains to be seen. That is a huge gap, 5 to 65 cents per gallon. But if there's news stories starting July 1st about what's going on with gas prices in California, that's what's going on with gas prices in California. So that is a unique element in this country, but that will also, because California is 1/8 of the US population, will also affect the national gas price. A couple more things about gas prices, and then we'll transition to how do consumers look at gas prices. First off, every year we have the spring transition to summer blend fuel. And from the first week in February, when it traditionally starts, till sometime, usually first week in May, the transition that involves switching over to more complicated fuels that are more expensive to produce, and there's more areas of the country that have different unique formulations. It's complicated. But anyway, this stress on the system traditionally leads to about a 52-cent increase in gas prices year to year, starting in the year 2000 when these regulations took effect. Spring transition this year was a little lighter. If you look at February 3rd, gas prices were 308 a gallon. April 17th, they peaked at 324 a gallon, so 16 cents a gallon. So there was a lot going on this year. That was around the time of tariffs, and that affected oil prices, which went down. So that was a spring transition this year. It was lighter than normal. That is not something that is going to affect anything henceforth. It will be other issues, world events, weather related, anything else that could be going on. A couple other points in case you're at backyard barbecues, and again, political or not, here's the numbers. If you look at the start of the year, gas prices were 305 a gallon. So they're up 16 cents since then. If you look at January 20th, which is the start of the new administration. Gas prices were 3.11 a gallon. They're up about 10 cents since then. So those are the numbers. Now let's transition to why uh, retailers pay attention to these numbers. Convenience stores sell 80% of the gas in the country, as I mentioned, but they are also looking at consumer sensitivity. And nobody wants to be the high priced leader in town because that affects volume and it affects how much people shop at stores. So, when you look at prices, as I said, uh, retailers adjust prices when their wholesale prices go up. And they adjust those prices when they are told a new shipment will cost this much more. It's called replacement cost. So they base their cost or their price based on what their next shipment will cost per gallon. And they do that with the idea that there's enormous price sensitivity to gas prices. There always have, and there always will be. When you ask one of the numbers that we ask every year, uh, why do you go to a certain store? It is, and we give them a couple choices. Is it because of the food? Is it because of the beverages? Is it because of the in-store items? Or is it because of the gas price? They always say the gas price. And there's something emotional about a gas price that is not equivalent to any other product. Maybe perhaps eggs over the last couple months. But besides that, you really don't see people talking about the price of bread or the price of milk or things like that to the level that they ever talk about gas prices. So retailers are aware of that and they keep that in mind. So we recently did a national survey with about 1,200 US customers looking at how do they think about gas prices, how do they think about convenience stores, how do they think about a lot of things. And we're going to release a lot of this data in a three-part NACS magazine series looking at what do they think about gas prices, what do they look at inside the store, and what do they think overall about our industry. So look for that coming up. We've written it, it's in the editing process, and you'll see them over the next couple months in NACS magazine. We'll also share some of the data on social media, etc. But this is the first time we're talking about the data publicly outside of the NACS office. So, in the latest survey, 69% of consumers said they would drive 5 minutes out of their way to save 5 cents a gallon. So, retailers don't want to be that store that is outside of the other stores in the area in terms of gas prices because they know that people will drive out of their way because consumers tell us. And they continually tell us, usually about two-thirds, about the same percentage year to year to year, no matter what the gas price is, that they will inconvenience themselves to find the best deal on gas. And when you think about saving 5 cents a gallon, um, average fill up is about 10 gallons. So that's about a 50-cent savings, but they feel great about it. And it is just something that I said is unique with gas prices. It has this cachet that nothing else has. Uh, and that affects retailer margins. What retailers try to do when gas prices go up, they hold back their margins a little, their profit margins, what they mark up their fuel at, and also what they ultimately make per gallon. Over the last few years, that markup on gas has been in the high 30 cents per gallon. That doesn't mean that's what they take to the bank after expenses, etc. It's probably in that 15 to 20 cent range. So retailer may make a buck 50 on a fill up. So that's just math for folks out there who aren't familiar with the retail industry. Right now, margins are in the low 30s, and that shows that as the prices increase, the price of oil to the price of wholesale gas, there is that lag that takes place where retailers hold back prices. Now that won't hold. Eventually, retailers will move margins to wherever they moved them, but they are tighter than they are right now, and that just kind of shows how the system works. Now, prices there's been these stories about rockets and feathers. Now, do prices go up faster than they go down? And how does it all work out? There's been a bunch of studies, and they look at this, and prices go up, the prices go down. margins stay roughly the same in those high 30s ranges year over year over the last few years. So, one more thing related to price sensitivity. People are stressed economically. They have indicated that they are a little bit more pessimistic than they have been the past few years. And that is the result of what we faced the last couple of years. We've had COVID, we've had all the post COVID things, we've had the inflation issues that were related to COVID and various other things. So, with these higher prices, with inflation, people do have price sensitivity right now, and they are, while retailers have more reasons to get you inside the store with, food offers, drink offers, all these other things, loyalty programs, customer service, people still are concerned about prices. And when you look at the two reasons, when we ask people, why do you have a favorite store, the top two reasons are the price of gas and the price of in-store items. So people are most certainly continue to be, and maybe more so than previous years, very sensitive to gas prices in any prices. And the reason that retailers want to have gas prices as competitive as possible is because they only make about 40% of their profits from the pump. They make the bulk of their profits inside the store. And particularly right now, that is because of food service, prepared food, prepared beverages, which is now close to 30% of in store sales. So here's a number. I'll throw out another number. I know I said I was going to throw some math out there. 64% of consumers who fill up at the pump go inside the store. And that is the latest number that we have from our survey. That number continues to climb every year. And that is because people are finding more and more reasons to want to go inside the store, particularly to buy that sandwich, buy something fresh, buy something healthy. And that 64% number, keep that in context, because if somebody is driving and looking for the best gas price and they decide that your store is not the best place to get gas, they're going to go somewhere else, and they're going to go inside that store. So if you are not competitive on gas prices, you're probably also going to lose that visit inside the store, where that makes up the bulk of your profits. So again, another reason why retailers look at being as competitive as they can on gas prices. Now, when they go inside, I mentioned a couple of things that they look for. Number one, most people, when they go inside the store, buy some sort of beverage. Might be coffee, might be a can or bottle of something, non-alcoholic. We're just talking about non-alcoholic beverages at this point. Could be something frozen, could be something fountain. 52% of all customers that come inside the store, and as I said, about two-thirds of customers come inside the store, leave with a beverage. But I also want to mention a couple other things that have really grown in popularity. Number one, bathrooms. Uh, in our latest survey, 31% of customers say when they went inside the store, they also use the bathroom. And if you think about how stores are now, particularly stores that are going to be visited over 4th of July and over summer road trips, when you look for a road trip location, you're thinking about, can I get fuel? Can I get food? Can I use the bathroom? And those three all fit together. And we're going to see a lot of traffic where those are the three things that people will be looking for when they stop at convenience stores, whether they're going 100 miles or whether they're going 1,000 miles. Big part of road trips. The other thing fits into that is the continued growth of food service. And 23% of customers say they got a food, a meal, or a sandwich the last time they went to a convenience store. So that is a huge change from 20 years ago, when food service was more of its in its infancy. It was being done very well at some stores, but not as many as are doing it well today. So that's really some of the numbers that we wanted to go over today. We'll be releasing more of these numbers, as I said, in the coming days, in the coming weeks, but wanted to kind of set the stage for what does it look like over 4th of July weekend? What does it look like starting July 1st with at least one state, California, looking at potentially significant changes in what that gas price looks like based on an added tax and an added low carbon fuel standard, and what the year may look like with hurricanes. And we'll certainly have episodes that will look at what retailers do around hurricanes and how does that affect the market. But for now, that's what we have on fuels. If you'd like to know more about fuels, we have a fuels resource center on our website. If you go to convenience.org and then either go under the topics and hit fuels, or if you want to type convenience.org/fuels, we have a bunch of backgrounders there looking at who sells fuel, what is fuel, how does fueling work in communities, what goes on, why is one store higher price than the other. And of course, we have a bunch of blogs there. And by far the favorite is, does the president control gas prices? And when I mean favorite, I mean the most listened to. We've gotten comments from both sides of the aisle on that one that it either is or isn't accurate, which tells us it probably is accurate. So that's where we are right now with fueling, what's going on in the market. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next week.
Convenience Matters is brought to you by NACS and produced in partnership with Human Factor. For more information, visit convenience.org.